that senior year, you know, you made the shift to the 200 freestyle and did some different things. But before we get to that, I'm guessing probably not quite as fast as you would have liked to have gone in the fly. Just shaved a little bit off of the year before his time. Were you holding a little back? What was going on in terms of training and what your priorities were that year?
No, I wasn't holding back. I think that year I had put, you know, in particular, I had sometimes a bad habit of putting way too much pressure on myself at a championship meet. You know, even though I maybe didn't show it and I was pretty modest, I took my swimming very seriously. And it was kind of, it was just self pressure. It wasn't pressure to just win. I knew that I had the best chance of winning. But for me, like, it was the time standards. A lot of times I set my goals way too lofty. And so I think I had a little bit of anxiety, not to just win the event, but to try to, you know, go 48 mid or 48 low. And so I think I had that in me, but, you know, there's times in swimming when that tension can work against you. And I think that I had a little bit of tension, knowing that it was my senior year and I was getting ready to go to college and I wanted to make my mark to all these college coaches and prove to them that I was this, you know, dominant swimmer. So, you know, I think that, you know, it got a little bit in my head. I think I was a little bit of a head case that year, not so much in the 200 free as the 100 fly, because I had already, you know, proven myself as the 100 fly, you know, state champion. So, you know, I was disappointed that I didn't go faster. I at least wanted to go 48 seconds, and I think I was capable of going 48. I mean, I didn't have any hiccups really my senior year training-wise. I continued to just get faster and faster training-wise every single year, so I suspected I would go faster. And, yeah, I went, you know, a tenth faster or something like that. So something's better than nothing, but I did expect a little bit more out of that meet.
But in line with what you're talking about, it probably makes sense, right? That there was probably less expectation of what you were going to do in the 200. It was a new event. You had not done it the state meet, and you wound up putting up a time that was, you know, I'd have to look at it, but among the 4 or 5 fastest in the history of the state at that time. And it was a really competitive time. I think it wound up putting you in the top 5 in the country. You were you the public school champion that year?
That's
and
correct.
Then I think maybe a prep school kid might have got you, but you were right there among the fastest.
I was, yeah. My senior year, I was
kids.
number 1, yeah, in the 200 freestyle for public high school.
Yeah.
Tom Malchow was number 1 for private school. So
but less expectation, right? You know, like that's a little bit of probably why you swam better that day in your mind.
I think so. Yeah, I was a little bit relaxed, and people didn't have this standard of what they expected out of me. So I was able to relax a little bit more, you know, and not to make excuses as far as pools go, but, you know, I don't know if they still do this, but, you know, when I was in high school, they cycled through Michigan State, Eastern Michigan, and then, it was Michigan State, then U of M, and then Eastern Michigan. I can't remember what the cycle was, but I know that I swam my freshman year and my senior year at Michigan State, and I was a little disappointed because the Michigan State pool, you know, even though it had great seating and all that, and it's a college pool, you know, it was not an extremely fast pool. So EMU, you know, I see your T-shirt you're wearing, and I've heard other people say this, but you know, to me, Eastern Michigan was the fastest short course pool that I've ever swam in, probably the fastest short course pool in the country. So, you know, who knows? But had I had the opportunity to swim my senior year at Eastern Michigan, I'm sure I would have gone a lot faster. I think Eric Matuzak, you know, I was jealous because, you know, he was a couple years older than me, and he was obviously a phenomenal 200 freestyler, and he got to swim his senior year at Eastern Michigan, and he went a 1:36. I mean, wow, posting one of the top 10 times ever for the 200 freestyle. So, you know, it would have been nice to be able to swim that meet at Eastern Michigan. But, you know, I did the best I could with the pool that I could. But I got to walk away saying, hey, I lowered my state record. And yeah, I think I might've been the second fastest 200 freestyle besides maybe, I can't remember if it was Eric or Tom Bailey. So, and I just edged out Alec's school record by 3/100ths in that 200 freestyle. So, you know, I was a little bit faster than Alec was his senior year. But yeah,
But who's counting, right? Nobody, who's really paying attention to hundredths of a second? I mean, certainly not Alec, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone is, it's Alec for sure.
Right, right. So, looking back at, the totality of that first kind of chapter of your swimming career, is there also a junior national 200 freestyle title in there as well?
There was not actually, but speaking of breakthroughs, that was a huge breakthrough through meet for me because I had qualified for my first junior nationals, and that was in Orlando, and I qualified for the senior nationals or the U.S. nationals at that meet in the 100 butterfly. I remember going to that meet and getting third in the 100 butterfly behind Dodd Wales and Tucker Shade. I mean, they were, Dodd Wales ended up being third at Olympic trials in the 100 butterfly. And so I qualified for the junior national team along with Dodd and Tucker Shade at that meet. And so going into my junior year after that, I think that's why I was able to carry some of that confidence and some of that success. And I remember going 56.3 in a 100 meter butterfly, after my sophomore year going into my junior year. So that was a huge breakthrough because then, again, that's when I realized, wow, I've got something great here. I was able to, go out to Colorado Springs and train with, people on the junior national team that are 18 and under swimmers that were the best in the country, a lot of which went on to win Olympic gold medals. People like Christina Teuscher, Stephen Potts, and Dodd Wales was on that team, as I mentioned. Catherine Fox, lots of Olympians in that group. And then later I was fortunate to go with that group to Paris, France and compete in Paris, France against some international swimmers. I remember Christina Eggersegge was there, who was one of the best 100 and 200 backstrokers in the history of swimming or in the history of backstroke. Christian Keller, a German Olympian. So to be able to be at a meet with some of these swimmers was mind-blowing and, really was confirmation to me that, wow, I'm here. So I'm just like them. I am one of the best. So once you really start to consider that, then that really helps that trajectory of confidence. So, I can't remember where we left off or what your question was. I digress, but I do remember.
No, I think I asked a bad question and you gave a really good answer. That's what I remember.